Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining my review of 90 Day Fiancé Before the 90 Days, Season 7, Episode 1, Great Expectations. We are so excited that there is a entirely new cast. I don't know what to do with myself. So let's get started. Okay, so our first couple is Rain. I always say Rain, but I think it's pronounced Renee and Chitty. Renee is 37. She's from Espanola, New Mexico. She loves animals. She has 130 chickens, 5 ducks, 5 dogs, 3 cats, and a horse. But she says she loves the chickens the most. She has 2 children. She has a son that's 8 and a daughter that is 16 years old. So she considers herself to be quirky and somewhat of a loner. She has never been married, but says the relationship with the kid's father was very toxic. So she has never experienced romance. She said no passionate kiss, no I love yous, no playful banter type relationships, none of that. So eventually she gave up on dating until 5 years ago when the man of her dreams came into her life. She met Chitty, hopefully I'm saying it right, her Nigerian Prince Charming. She said she was not looking for love online. She was trying to find more friends. He was there as a friend suggestion. She also thought he was cute, so she sent him a friend request, um, and it took off from there. So after 2 weeks of talking, she said that she told him she loved him, and he told her he loved her back. That's pretty quick. And now it just became an everyday thing. I guess my opinion is I guess my thoughts are why has it taken why has it taken 5 years to visit each other? Um, that's interesting. I don't know. So then we learn about Chitty. He is 33 years old. He's from Lagos, Nigeria, and he is blind. He says he's always had a love for football since he was a kid. He still plays, although it's not easy. It has a unique sound that helps him know where the ball is, he says. He also says all of the team players were wearing goggles because some of them can see more than others. So it kind of keeps it fair game if everyone is blindfolded. So he goes on to say that he wasn't born like this. At the age of 17, he had an accident where his friend climbed a tree and an apple fell and hit him on his right eye. He said the pain was excruciating, and when he got to school, he couldn't see the blackboard. The pain and the eye continued to get worse, and as a result, he fell and hit his eye on a desk, and he said blood just started gushing out everywhere. They went to the hospital, but there was nothing they could do, so he ended up being blind in both eyes. Wow, that's interesting. He goes on to tell us that he can only see a thick cloud and a sparkle of color, but still recalls what the world looks like, and that helps him visualize his environment. He also says being visually impaired in Nigeria isn't easy, and tells us that Lagos is the biggest city in Africa. It's very congested, and the roads are not properly built for someone with a disability. So I don't know if you saw, but he has a walking stick, and that's a little bit hard for him to use on the road. There's no ramps. Um, Yeah, I don't know. For him, I would probably not want to go out by myself if he's going to be like having to take the street. I saw it. They showed us. It just looks like you could get hit by a car. So, not really safe, Chitty. Make sure you're with someone. So, he tells us he is a Christian by faith and believes God has helped him cope with his disability and believes God brought Renee to him. They communicate with speech software. I've not seen that before. It allows him to read and write to Renee. Initially, she was afraid to tell her he was blind, but he did, and it brought them closer together, he said. So later we see Renee driving to clean the storage units. Her mom, I believe her mom owns the storage unit, and she was just over there helping to clear out some storage units that some people moved out of. So when she gets there, there were her mom's friends were there, and they were just sitting in the front area of the office when you walk in. And so she sat down and kind of just chatted with them a little bit. So Renee has told them that she did sit down and chit chat with them, but she said she told them that she loves the fact that Chitty is blind, because she's very conscious of her body, of how her body looks. So the mom and friends think she is in it for the wrong reason, but they decide to wish her well. I think she's in it for the wrong reason too. To pick a blind man just because he's not going to see your body. Yeah, I don't know if that's for the right reason either. So, anyways, next we learned that Chitty loves his sister, lives with his sister's family. They are making the bedroom accommodations for Rain. So she doesn't know that they will be sleeping in separate rooms. So yeah, I don't think that's going to go over well at all, because she's clearly expecting to be able to be in the same room, in the same bed as Chitty. So Chitty tells his sister that he has some concerns, and one is that she is easily temperamental, insecure, and hard to reason with. So we'll see how that goes over, but he's not sure if he is going to be able to put up with it. So, I don't know if he's already getting those vibes. I hope he is going to be able to calm her down. I don't know why she didn't get a hotel room, but maybe she couldn't afford it. So, okay. So next up we have Lauren and Faith. So Lauren's 33 years old. He's from Las Vegas. We have Faith, who is 30 years old. And his friends say Lauren is eccentric and has a flair for the dramatic. So working for a drag queen is the perfect job for him. So his job is to collect money off the floor, help the girls get dressed, help with wigs, buy drinks, and pretty much anything they need him to do. So he says he loves the job because it makes others happy. Most of his life, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't please anyone. So he kind of grew up countryside Washington State, and it was difficult to fit in. So he considers himself, I never heard of this, gynosexual, which means he finds femininity attractive, but not necessarily gender. So his preference would be to date a trans woman without the male private parts. So next he's out shopping with a friend, and he's looking for a corset. He's looking to get married. So he decided to download two Filipino dating apps, overseas, and instantly connected with Faith. As I said earlier, she's 30 years old and she lives in Manila, Philippines. They've never met but text daily. In the Philippines, Faith is known as a lady boy, which is considered a transition woman. They talk about how they've said they love each other after just one day of talking on the phone. So after 4 months, he says he's ready to spend his entire savings to go to the Philippines to get married. He says Faith doesn't know he is broke and that he works in a retail back room and a gift shop, which he says is minimum wage, and he still struggles to pay rent. He says he can't afford to uh, take care of Faith in America. So, his ideal scenario is to go to the Philippines, find a way to live with Faith, and stay there forever. He then goes on to say in the Philippines, his financial burdens would be less, and therefore he could take care of Faith. They hadn't had this conversation yet, and he's not sure that what he will say if she wants to come to the US because he can't afford to take care of her, but hopes she would still love him enough to see past it. So next we see, or later we see Lauren cooking in the bathroom of a friend's house, practicing how to cook Filipino food. So remember I said he doesn't have a place to stay. He can't afford to live on his own. So he really just randomly stays from friend to friend house or maybe a relative's house, but he definitely does not have his own place. So like I said, he's cooking in the bathroom of his friend's house. I think that's really just disgusting. Um, He's trying to practice how to cook Filipino food, but he was cooking shrimp, if I remember. It was shrimp, and he was just boiling it. So I don't know how that's considered Filipino food. Maybe it is. He told us that it's very hot and humid in the Filipinos, and he just wants to prepare for it. And so he gets done and he decides to show us, to taste it and to tell us what it tastes like. But it just really looked nasty. Um, Now, later we see him with his boss helping prepare a few costumes. He decides to take a break and call Faith since there is a 15-hour time difference and it's hard to connect with each other. So they talk about sleeping in separate rooms once he arrives. And Faith said, yes, while they are getting to know each other, Lauren wants to be in an open relationship, and he's not sure how Faith will handle that. Yeah, because I think she's looking for a kind of monogamous relationship. So we will see. So next, we see Lauren and his friend discussing the girlfriend test, which is a test he typed up and wrote a bunch of questions on it. His friend, Lauren says he made it up years ago and it's just something to kind of break the ice. It appears to be just a bunch of ridiculous questions. He says it's just fun and a way to kind of break the ice. He gets dropped off at the airport by his friend and off he goes to the Philippines. Next, we have a couple named Tiger Lily. She's 41 and she's from Frisco, Texas. So she says there's a certain facets. There are certain facets of life that she likes to live luxuriously in, like sunglasses, shoes, and cars. So we see her in a jewelry store looking to purchase a watch. And the jeweler says they have an exclusive watch for $26,000, and also that it has to be ordered. So she makes the decision to go ahead, and she told the jeweler, let's do it. She went ahead and purchased it, put it on her card, and she leaves the store. So she says, despite her privileged life, it hasn't always been the easiest. So she met someone when she was 30. They got pregnant and they decided that getting married was the best thing for them to do. She experienced the finer things in life in exchange for being controlled. So she wasn't able to have friends, and she felt that, the marriage equaled prison. So she stayed in the marriage as long as she could. Eventually, she just decided, enough is enough. The divorce took, I believe, 4 years, and she said it was just a horrible process. But she now has her independence, and the children are well taken care of. She told herself she would never get married again until she met Adnan. So we find out that she is a handwriting expert, and she says you can tell a lot about a person, like if they're a serial killer or if they're very sensitive to criticism and what they are like in the bedroom. In a week, she will be leaving for Jordan so that she can meet him in person. And next, we see her over to her life coach's house. She tells her life coach that the next day they meet, they are getting married. She gives her this, "Are you crazy?" look. Then she asked Tiger Lily why. Why so soon? And Tiger Lily says, "Well, why not?" She said they are both in the same on the same page, and because of this religion, they have to get married. And the coach asked her, how's she going to protect her finances? And Tiger Lily kind of doesn't seem very worried about it because I mean it hasn't really crossed her mind. In my opinion, I just think she's pretty irresponsible. Um, she's just pretty irresponsible, and she really just seems to have no real justifiable reason to marry him so fast. I would think that she can go over there and visit. I mean, if she's been holding out this long, being intimate with anyone, I think she can hold off just so that she can hopefully have the right person that she's marrying and just making sure that she is compatible with him. You know, that kind of takes time before you just jump into a marriage. So, and plus she has children. So I don't know how that's going to work. Do they get time to meet him? I guess it doesn't matter if they like him or not because I guess she's going to, do what she wants to do. Um, and then later she meets up with her friends. They decide to, have a little bachelorette party with her since she's leaving. Most of her friends are her service providers that basically provide services to her. Sort of like whoever does her hair, whoever does like, her nails, the esthetician that, that may do her massages or does her facials. Those were the people that were at her bachelorette party. So they all are concerned about her getting married so quick. But, again, Tiger Lily sees nothing wrong with it. She feels she will be okay as long as she is not being controlled. She's interesting. She comes off a little ditzy personality in my opinion. Everything is to her is like rainbows and Capricorns until it's not. So she's not in tune with reality, in my opinion. But we will see over time. And the last couple that we have is Brian, who is 51. He lives in Harvard, Illinois, and this segment opens with Brian. He is driving and is employed with a rideshare company. He's been doing it for 7 years and he says he loves it. He's very personable with his riders and he seems very nice. I saw his interaction and he just seemed like a fun driver that you would love to get into his car and be driven wherever you got to go. So next we see him park and assemble a wheelchair. He says he is approaching his 25th year of being in a wheelchair. When he was 27, he says he was shot with a small caliber handgun, which hit him in the spinal cord and left him as a quadriplegic. He begins to tell us that where he's from, gun violence is not uncommon. He grew up in the inner city of Chicago and was raised by a single mom. He grew up and got married to his high school sweetheart, and at 19, they had a little girl. Obviously, she's an adult now because we see her in his segment. And he also says that he was married 3 years before divorcing. And then later on, it turns out that he shares a little bit more about the reason or how he became quadriplegic. and what actually led up to that. So it turns out that he was carjacked and he tried to take the gun and was shot, which caused instant paralysis from the chest down. So the doctors told him he'll never walk again and his hands will never work again the same. Um, that's pretty sad. Yeah, so next, we see him getting dressed in the morning. He gives himself, he says, like an hour or maybe two to get dressed. And as he adjusted to his new normal, he looked for new ways to be active. So he was introduced to what is called wheelchair rugby and eventually made the USA team and started playing internationally for about 4 years. He says he's been to around 10 different countries, and when he was in Brazil, he just said he loved it, and he accepted a coaching role, and he also learned Portuguese while living there. So while living there, he found that they the women there are more open to kind of like the disabilities that he has or any disabilities that men have than in the U.S. And he had a few relationships and even a failed marriage, but eventually met Ingrid. She's a single mom and she is 32 years old, and they've been talking for the last 2 years. So in one week he is going to Brazil to meet her. He does mention that she is aware he is in a wheelchair, but there is so much more he needs to tell her. And next, we just see his daughter give him a ride to the airport, and he is off to Brazil. So this seems like an interesting cast. It's going to be exciting to see how this all unfolds. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. And on your way out, if you like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll definitely talk to you later.